it just seems like inauthentic. Like, are you always happy? Is that something like you're always just like walking around smiling? Tons of small talk, pointless chitter chatter. Like, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? And man, these expats were fired up. They were mad. Ahoy Bashikni, it's Jen from Dream Prague for a little sit-down video. If you're unfamiliar with my channel, I make videos not about Americans, but about Czech people. I do it from an American perspective, but my goal is really to make all my viewers familiar with Czech culture and Czech people. But the other day I was in an expat Facebook group, and there's lots of people in there, not just obviously Americans, people from the United States. And there were a lot of people going off on Americans. And I just felt the need to address it. Now, I have made some fun of Americans in my day on this channel, but I kind of feel like they're my people, so like I can, but then when like someone comes from my family, I'm like, wait a minute, just slow your roll. So today I'm just gonna address a few of these stereotypes, try to explain them, and hopefully if you're Czech, you will learn a little something about American culture. If you are American and you don't travel a lot, or you're coming abroad, this might give you a little insight into how we are perceived. And you can take that information and do with it what you will. So the first thing that was mentioned by many people, not Czechs because it was an expat group, but by Northerners, like people from Nordic countries, Sweden, Germany, they very much dislike that Americans are fake. Now, what does fake mean? Like fake nails, fake hair color? No, they're talking about their attitude. Their friendliness seems fake. And I was kind of looking for specifics, and I hear this a lot. I've heard this from a lot of circles. The East Coast of the United States thinks that the West Coast is really fake. And pretty much all of the West Coast thinks that Los Angeles is really fake. And I'm from Los Angeles, so I know some fake when I see it. If you're gonna criticize all Americans for being fake, we need to kind of get into it. So the first reason that they gave was that Americans will say, hi, how are you? And not wait to hear the answer. I don't know what this means exactly. Are we saying, hi, how are you? And then running away? Or I think probably what I do is like, hi, how are you? I've been meaning to call you. Hi, how are you? Oh, I wanted to ask you something. So like we jump into the topic or whatever. Or when we first meet someone, we're like, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? And we didn't actually wait to hear. People who aren't American, take a lot of offense to this not waiting to hear the answer. Now, when I first arrived in the Czech Republic, I noticed this immediately. So my elderly landlord was in the building and I said, hi, how are you? In Czech. And he was a little bit taken aback and he was like, oh, my back hurts and I've got trouble with a tenant. And he tells me all these things that are wrong. And I was kind of caught and I was like, oh, that seems intimate, but I'm here for it. Like, I can't commiserate and check because I just got here, but I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And first of all, the question put him off guard because how are you is a bit of an intimate question. Like you ask it in many cultures if you actually like are curious how the person is. What I was trying to explain in this expat group was that hi, how are you is just part of a greeting for Americans. It's like an empty phrase. It's just tack it on to the front of your sentence. And that's just what we say. Because it'd be almost too short to be like, hi. It's like you need the hi, how are you? And so if you can picture that it's not us being insincere, it's just already an empty greeting. Like when I ask that question in America, we don't expect to have an answer. In fact, when I was here a few years ago, my poor little cat died and I was really sad and I was like on the verge of tears and I went over to my friend Skip's house and he said to me, hi, how are you? And I was like, I'm fine. because, and then I explained my cat died. I clearly wasn't fine. It's just, this is just how we respond in English, in American English at least. Instead of feeling like an American is being fake, just accept that phrase means something totally different in American English than it does in your culture. Here's an example for the Czechs. So whenever you see anyone like a receptionist or some sort of interaction, or you walk into a shop, or you're dealing with someone at an office or something, you say dobrý den. And that's just manners. I think in France, if you don't say bonjour, like they won't even talk to you. Dobrý den, bonjour, it means good day. Now, is it really a good day? What if it's a bad day? Like, are you being inauthentic? Are you being fake if you say good day to someone? No, that's just the Czech culture, is you say dobrý den. That's how we address people. And it's kind of the same with how are you? It's like, you're not being inauthentic if are you supposed to say špatný den, just to be honest and like true? No, it's just a greeting. And that's how you, if you are not American, should think of when Americans say, how are you? Another aspect of the fakeness that they mentioned was that Americans are always like smiling. And like, why are they smiling? Like, why is it so, it just seems like inauthentic. Like, are you always happy? Is that something like you're always just like walking around smiling? And the Americans in their group are like, what the hell? Like, what is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? So one of the things you notice in this country, and quite honestly, throughout Central Europe, a lot of Europe, is that there's not a lot of eye contact and smiles. That's just, it seems maybe too intimate to make eye contact and smile at a person. Now, from an American's perspective, in a big city, when you're walking with tons of people on the street, I'm not trying to make eye contact and smile at people, but let's say it's Sunday morning and you're the only one on the street and someone is passing you and you see them coming from a distance. And when you get to them, they don't look you in the eye. Like, to an American, that seems almost intentionally standoffish, intentionally maybe rude. And because for us, the look in the eye and the smile is an acknowledgement of like, hey, we're both in this situation. We're both either enjoying a beautiful sunny day, or maybe we're both in line at some government office and we're like, oh, can you believe we're still here? You know, like, but the eye contact and the smile is an acknowledgement of the person. And I guess it's perceived as like forward or intrusive to like try to elicit a smile from someone. Funny story, I had walking the dog today and some woman just walked by and did this. And I'm like, okay, she has got to be a channel watcher because that is totally not normal Prague behavior. But yeah, you don't encounter the eye contact and the smile. And I've gotten completely used to it, but to say that Americans are like fake because they're smiling at someone they don't know is fine, that's your perspective. But from our perspective, it is quite rude to be the only other person in a place in a moment and to not make eye contact. So we're talking about like cultural relativity here. I'm not saying that Czech people or Central European people are rude because they don't look me in the eye. But I would appreciate it if they didn't think that there was something fake about me because I smiled at a stranger. Do you know what I mean? It's just, we're totally just different in that regard. And to be honest with you, and maybe some of you Americans who live or travel a lot in Central Europe can commiserate with me. Like, after a while, it's kind of hurtful. It just kind of feels like, man, I'm alone in this city. Like, I'm literally alone in this city. I'm a foreigner here on my own, and then like nobody is smiling at me. So it can feel, from our perspective, not fun. The next thing they said was that they hate small talk. And Americans just blah, 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 you know, just tons of small talk, pointless chitter chatter. And I get that, but I don't understand the alternative. Oh, I know the alternative. So they were explaining that Americans just talk about stuff that doesn't matter, like the weather or just like basically small talk. And like, why not just talk about serious matters or things that are important? If you launched into, well, let's say it's your first meeting with someone in America. If you launched into a serious topic, like, so who'd you vote for? You could get shot. I mean, like, no, but like, that is not polite. It is not polite to launch into a serious topic. I think a lot of Czechs might complain. That might be their small talk. That's not polite in America either. You know, you don't just like come in hot with like your complaints. I often don't know what to say to people. I am very shy when I first meet people, and the weather or some other small talk is a safe place to go. It's kind of how we grew up, and we saw our parents do that, and so we do that. I was in Old Town Square at like some beer, like I advise all tourists not to do, but I was there and I was filming, and this Spanish guy next to me was like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I am filming this beer." And he said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I'm a YouTuber and I'm making a video about expensive beer and cheap beer." And he was like, he had just met me, and he was like, "Don't you find your career like a waste of time? Like, what, the example you're setting for kids, like, are you worried about the impact of YouTube on this generation?" And I was like, dude, that's a serious topic. I am all for that topic after we've had a little bit of getting to know each other. That's an interesting topic to me. But you just came in hot, like, with the critique of my work. And I was like, you don't even know what I make videos about. I make videos about like Czech culture. My whole goal is to get people to come to this country, learn about this country. Like, do you find that shallow? No, maybe not. But he didn't take the time to have the small talk to figure out like where I'm coming from. So when people say that Americans are really into small talk, I don't know what the alternative is. Any alternative I can think of is too heavy for American culture. And also, maybe what these people were complaining about is that the Americans that they work with. So they know them for a while, and the Americans are still talking about like stupid, pointless crap instead of having a real conversation. And that might be because they don't like you, dude. They might not be interested in what your opinions are, and they don't want to sit in a lunchroom quietly, because that's also kind of rude in our culture. And that's how you keep it light, you know? You talk about stupid stuff. So does that make us fake? I don't know. I don't particularly like small talk. I had to give lessons on small talk when I taught English, and my Czechs were just like, "What are you wasting our time with?" And I was like, I know. But anyway, that might help explain how we come at small talk. And the last thing that they were saying in the comments is that we Americans are really loud. Now, I cannot say that I disagree with that. I grew up in a house with 9 people, and in order to get fed, you had to eat really, really fast. And in order to be heard, you had to be really, really loud. And the habit has stayed with me. I'm a somewhat animated like speaker. And sometimes we're at a bar, and Hansa will be like, I'll be explaining something I'm really excited about, passionate about, and Hansa will be like, and let me tell you, nothing infuriates a woman more than her husband telling her to lower her volume. But I can't help it. I just get really excited. This becomes a problem when you're in another country and you're on a metro, or you're in a group of people and you're having this grand old time at a high volume, and you don't understand that like the rest of the culture is relatively quiet. But I mean, you know, go to an Italian restaurant in Italy, and the buzz level is like up here. And so telling an American to lower their voice, it's a little bit like telling an Italian, like, you can't talk with your hands. Just don't talk with your hands. We don't consider it polite, so don't talk with your hands. Or, you know, telling a Danish person that they have to be very spontaneous, and they can't They can't put anything in their diary. From now on, all plans have to be totally of the moment. A Danish person would be like, I can't function that way. So the loudness thing is the one that I would say, like, it is your responsibility, Americans, when you come to another country to recognize the decibel level, because you're actually infringing on relative peace of the people around you. So that one, I mean, I'm speaking loudly right now, but there's nobody here. I hope that I've helped explain these things so that you don't lump us all into this fake bucket, but just kind of understand that it's the same sort of cultural trait as a lot of you guys have, and a lot of your traits we find to be not completely polite in American culture. And I understand when I'm here in this culture, I have to behave more like this culture, but I've also been raised to say, hi, how are you? And it's hard to like take it away. Now, I certainly welcome your comments. I would only hope that you keep them kind of out of the stereotype bin and maybe tell me some of your own experiences with American culture or with others. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Uvidíme se příště. Ahoj!